Yes, here we go. It is the T.N.F. 5:30 start again with me and the judge. Welcome along onto the bus, all you who've joined. Mark, how are you?
Doing very well, mate. Just braving this shitty weather the last maybe week
Oh,
and a
man.
half. I need to get away, mate. I might just fuck off the more to Spain for the weekend. I don't know. This is in my head.
Oh, is
Anyway,
that
but how
what?
about you?
Yeah,
Aye.
jamming, mate. Jamming, mate. All good here. Don't have the. I not thought I'd be going to Spain for the weekend, but I can see the benefits of
Well,
that, mate.
well, the invitation's there, mate. I'm considering it.
Mm,
Highly considering it, mate, to be honest with you. But anyway,
mm.
other than that, Celtic won last
Yes.
night. That's what matters, mate. That's the most important thing just now.
Well, of course it is, mate. Of course it is, and it was a show that me and Terry did after the game last night, where undeniably, I think you agreed to me in the live chat. Actually, coming to think of it, it was a game with the drop points, and we could
Yeah.
argue whether we'd lost it or drawn it, but I think we would definitely drop points in that exact type of fixture if you placed the Celtic of this time last year into that, dropped them into that fixture, and those conditions, etc. And that atmosphere, Aberdeen on that sort of fantastic home record, 100% record up to last night. I think we dropped points last night,
Mm.
this time last year. So the team's evolving in different ways. Not everything's going to be an easy on the eye version of evolution that you see in the team. What you're going to see is actually when the going gets tough, Celtic don't get going maybe as much as what they were last year. And I mean, going is in like like the Billy Ocean song. Instead, they face up to the challenge and win a wee bit ugly, if you want to call it that. Which, by the way, is a trait you've got to have in any league, regardless whether you're the dominant force in that league. It is a trait you're going to need to utilize at some point during the season or some points during the season. Last night was a prime example. I just think of a side that has the league sort of, they've got complete control of it. Whisper it quietly, still unbeaten domestically this year as well. We're getting into December, and that talk, I'm sure, if we were to navigate the League Cup final, for example, I think that talk will be, I know it's not your cup of tea, Matt, but I think it will be genuinely the chat that starts. Potentially put more pressure on some of the fixtures as well. Will be, the unbeaten record, and could Brendan incredibly repeat the invincible trick for a
Mm.
second time? But that is further down the line. Anyway, we do remain unbeaten. We'll do all that good stuff. We'll get stuck right in. All that good stuff means give us a wee like, give us a share, bag some hair. If you want to join the Boise Bus, become a member. It's $1.99 a month. Loads you have guys like Jim Dolan. Good to see you. Alistair Jack, Johnny Logue, San Fran Celtic, Anthony Menzies, Ali, Martin Kay, loads of yous in there. So a big shout out to you and a shout out to everyone on the bus, because you don't get anything extra for the membership. You're just simply supporting the channel and the fact that we do a minimum 4, usually 5 shows a week still on a 7-day week when everyone's got a full-time job. We really appreciate you showing a wee bit of support to us. Remember as well, tonight on the T.N.F, get the hashtag in, T.N.F, and we will go through as many of your points as possible. The judge is always open to getting challenged on many of the points from the forum, so we look forward to a bit of that. But yeah, the only place to start is last night. The 1-0 win. Take it away.
Well, I thought first of all, I mean, when you're kicking the ball and the wind blows the ball backwards, it's lucky to get kicked off. So I wasn't expecting exciting football last night. Let's be fair to the players, you know what I mean. On that pitch next to the ocean, it's windy at the best of times, but last night was just torrential. And the fact they put up any sort of performance last night, both teams, is a credit to them. I thought Celtic. I stand by what I said last night. I think it's a game Celtic could have and have dropped points in before, but they showed that kind of gritty determination to get the winner. I didn't see the goal coming, to be honest with you. I thought the goal was a sublime pass for Taylor, who came on to better the team in the second half, and a great touch and finish for Hatate. The goal itself kind of, it was unbecoming the match that became before it. It was like, it wasn't the kind of goal you see in a match so bitty and so, the referee stopping every couple of minutes, the wind playing a havoc, and almost every player in the park, no playing to their ability. And so it was kind of almost the kind of goal you don't see in the kind of matches. But I'm happy to see it come. And I also felt when he came on and added a different dynamic to the match, boys. So I think there's a genuine conversation now to be had I don't know how long you can just keep on kicking the can down the road before reality kicks in with some folk that certain players who are out of form for a good while now, their jersey shouldn't be given to them as a given. It's got to be earned, and I think Ida is now beginning to impact games from the bench, and he started last week and scored a supplying goal. Kyogo, we're seeing the same type of performance where he's in the periphery of the match. He'll get the odd tap in, he'll maybe get the odd decent finish, but all in all, he's not contributing too much other than looking busy, boys. And I think there's some occasions you need more than that. And last night was one of the occasions. You need somebody with a wee bit different dynamic to them, somebody who can hold the ball up well, somebody who can play a first time pass around the corner. And he does got all that, you know what I mean? His form up until recently was pretty poor for Ida, but I think the last international break was a good thing for Ida. I think he's come back a lot stronger in a couple of weeks at the training ground with the Celtic first team management probably helped him rather than going away with Ireland and breaking up the routine again. So as far as last night is concerned, I think we've seen a few more than one side of Celtic, but we saw the side that we're used to seeing, I suppose, and that's getting the result, even when it looks like we might just know of we've run out of ideas. And I'm happy to say sometimes that you don't always win the league by playing 38 games fantastic football. I mean, you're going to get Wednesday nights in a storm at Bustalgia. You need to negotiate them, boys. So you have to eat it. It's as simple as that. You got to negotiate the games. And as we said last year, they probably have dropped points there. But the teams that kick on, the teams that really kick on, the champions alike, the champions of each country, tend to negotiate these games and tick them off one after one. And I think Celtic are slowly doing that. But what I've also noticed the last wee while, maybe since the last break again, is we're finding Celtic slowly getting into a different gear. And even though last night's game was a poor performance all in, I feel like there was a lot of factors mitigating in terms of that performance, boys. I think Celtic are kicking on just now at the right time of the season.
They definitely are, mate. They definitely are kicking on. And you're right. In those conditions, you're not going to get everyone playing at their optimum level. And there is obviously then what leads to horses for courses in terms of what your player selection is. Now, I spoke about it last night. I thought Ida was the real difference for us in that second half, to be honest with you. I know it was Atati who got the goal, and it was a sublime assist by another substitute, Greg Taylor, that actually provided it. But notwithstanding that, I thought Ida was the real catalyst for Celtic sort of looking a far more threatening force in the final third, which despite having the majority of the game in the first half, there was nothing in the final third. Conditions played a massive part in that, I get that. But you've got a player there who might be better suited to those conditions as well, let alone whether you want to argue about who's the number one pick. I just thought that game was more tailor-made for the profile of Adam Ida. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think, before it becomes a Kyogo bashing, I just think when you look at the optics of that fixture, you go, but that would definitely be more one I would be inclined to be playing Adam Ida. And so, to be honest with you, it proved. I think you've seen the difference that he made and the impact he had when he came on, in stark comparison with the little impact that Kyogo had. I still think there's credit in the bank that with Kyogo that you can see why a manager is loath not to turn to him, because against our toughest oppositions domestically, or he's always kind of found a way. I know he didn't in his first season score against Rangers and stuff, but boy, oh boy, did he make up for that. And even last year, when it looked like, was Brendan getting the best out of him, not quite sure how to, his goals looked like they'd not dried up completely, but they'd certainly reduced. It was those fixtures, the bigger ones, where he was still getting his name in the score sheet and having, defining impact. So I could see why it's a tricky one from that aspect. But I think when you strip that back, you just look at that type of fixture, you then you look at the amount that was paid for Ida, the amount of faith that you obviously must have in him anyway to justify that. I thought that fixture was crying out for him to get the start. So it will be interesting to see now, based on, as you say, a fantastic starting display from Ida with a sublime goal, as you described it, at the weekend, to then another major impact off the bench in a far different, trickier affair, whether he now is closer than ever to getting a run of starts that he's maybe been unfortunate not to have not through, I think, and I've said this before, a lot of fault of his own. I think, the delay in his transfer, we could go on about that every single show, but I think that has been such a deciding factor in him not already having been more of a 50-50 competitor, if you like, for that striker role at Celtic.
Well, the good thing about having two strikers that are so polar opposite in their style is horses for courses, as you say. You can satisfy the team's need based on the fixture and where you're playing it. For talk's sake, a wee tight game at Dens Park, I'd probably say Kyogo's more fitted to that, and Ida's probably more fitted to Tynecastle, for talk's sake. You know what I mean? And I think that's it's you go to more than one string to your bow as a manager in terms of your squad depth. So we need players that are kind of totally different. If you keep on putting like for like on the park, sometimes you're going to hit a brick wall and it's not going to change for you. And I think last night, the dynamic, so I keep using that word, the dynamic did change with Ida's introduction. You seen it straight away. It's the same way when McCowan came on a couple of weeks back, and we were stuffy, we were stodgy, we were one touch was one touch too many in midfield for some players. He was getting on the ball. He was running 10, 15 yards with it. He was making nice passes. He was making impact passes and taking players out the equation altogether. Some players just need to come on at certain times, certain games, and they'll make a difference. Too many likes for like, then you're not going to get any difference, are you? So I even found that last night with Greg Taylor. I mean, there's criticism, there's critics of Greg Taylor, and I have at times. All in all, I think the day that guy leaves Celtic, I think you'll say he was a good signing for Celtic. That's my opinion. He could do it as a good signing for Celtic, but in big games in Scottish football, Greg Taylor's had a lot of good moments for Celtic, and last night again he stood up, and that was a beautiful wee dink pass that you would praise Hatate for passing for making. That was a wee dink pass at the tap. He took away the full Aberdeen backline with one touch of the ball. Right on the kill Hatate's chest, and it's 1-0. The winning goal of the game, and you got to give credit to Greg Taylor and other as well as Hatate. And the big players, they stand up for you, and you got to have that mixture of maybe Vi's maybe going to give you a wee bit more, cultured and a wee bit more silky. But see, last night, as you mentioned there, talking about horses for courses, last night was probably more about mud and grit, to be honest with you, and just getting the job done. And that's probably where Greg Taylor comes into the equation. Like the same way where Kyogo comes into the equation, or either comes into the equation on certain matches, certain players have got their own niche. And I do genuinely believe that with the squad we've got just now, I think it's very overrated. I think some people think we've got two squads that can win the league. I don't. But what we have got with this squad is, boys, we've got variety. We've got different types of players in the same position, and none more so than midfield. But even if you look at if you compare two substitutes like Maida and James Forrest, that's two players that play in the exact same position, but the two, by God, the two of them are totally different types of players. And then same on the other side, you've got Kuhn, who can beat a man, can score, can cross a ball, and you've got Palmer that just can't. But you know what I mean? You've got two totally different types of players, and that is good because, as I mentioned a minute ago, you can't keep bringing the same trick to the party, boys. So you've got to have other strings to your bow, and I think Rodgers is slowly stretching that along across the full team.
Yeah, definitely. You're seeing the squad utilisation where I agree there's not two first teams out there, two teams that could win a league. I think that would be a stretch. And I'd be loath to hear that be the opinion of many fans. But I certainly think that the options have massively increased for last year. Even if the personnel haven't, even if it is some of the same players, they feel like better options now than they did last year. Bernardo being a prime one, where I think he was, all right, yeah, Bernardo, yeah, he's okay. And I think this year you're going, oh, fuck, that's one hell of a player to have only started 4 or 5 games this season so far. And again, I thought he did an admirable job last night, if anything. But just going on the Greg Taylor one, I've got a theory on that as well. Why I think Rodgers would have opted for Vi last night, right? Now, it's all actually summed up by the goal. Look where Greg Taylor is when he plays that ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel when we're away from home, in these sort of matches, Rodgers, when he first came in, was actually playing Greg Taylor back to being an auxiliary left back, traditional left back role, and his form member was awful at the start. Then he seemed to be allowed to go back to doing the role that he fulfilled under Ange Postecoglou and being an inverted fullback, whilst Johnston still carried on in Rodgers, I think, preferred fullback, sort of being more of a, stay in your lane type of fullback. And I think Rodgers trusts his vision will be that organised structure of his back four will be, in his mind, a stereotypical two fullbacks. And Greg Taylor is a risk because the only way he can get, in his mind, the best form out of Greg Taylor was actually by making a compromise and resorting back to this inverted one for one fullback and not for the other. And that is undeniably when Greg Taylor's form improved last year, when he started doing being allowed to have that freedom, if you like. But I don't think, personally, deep down, that's Rodgers' long game. I think he knows there's many domestic matches where it could be a weapon, it could work for him, and it means he's getting the best out of a first-team player. But I don't think in his big games, Mark, he's wanting his left back in those areas necessarily, albeit he came up trumps last night, and I take that on board. So I think that's why he leaned towards Valle, is because that's the guy who plays the role of left back that Rodgers will be looking for from his two fullbacks. It's more textbook Rodgers, if you like, whereas Greg Turnbull, I think, was more compromised Rodgers, where he sort of made a deal with him, like, right, okay, to get the best out of you, you can go back to doing what you've done. And it's only, as I say, with the goal, it's epitomised because when he pops up in those areas, you see it all the time. I'm in the central sort of areas of the field for Celtic. And, it was a brilliant assist, by the way, and it's all came up good. So I'm happy for that. But I've got a feeling that's maybe also why, in the long run, Rodgers, whilst be keen to keep Taylor as a squad player, I think doesn't see him as his first choice left back, whether he stays or, obviously if he's not, then if he doesn't stay, then he won't be. But I think he would be offering him a new deal to keep him a part of his Celtic group, but not a key first choice player at left back.
Oh, I totally agree. I think Taylor was probably identified in Rodgers' first window as somebody Celtic need to improve on, but not a priority. Now we're getting to the stage now where it's becoming a priority, and not just because of his contract situation, because the team needs to evolve, Boise, and he seems like he's maybe a part of the puzzle that's needing replaced more than anything else. So I totally agree with you. There'll be games where Rodgers can allow a bit more freedom for certain players, maybe for us talking say a Ross County at home or a Dundee at home, but up against maybe Hearts at Tynecastle or Aberdeen at Bustalgia, you do need to pick the teams that is probably more disciplined or at least more, more cultured to his philosophy.
See if you're 5 years in to your Celtic career, Mark, and you're no starting away to Aberdeen, and it's a guy on loan who's 20 who is starting ahead of you. I think that also speaks volumes for where he's ranked as in sort of Rodgers' long-term thinking about his starting 11.
Well, I totally agree. You know what I mean? I think there's a couple. I do think there's a couple of factors that maybe plays into that. One being his contract, two being the mythical form that Vai's putting in. I think his standing among the Celtic supporters as a pipe dream. I think that boy looks bang average at very best. Although he's put a couple of performances in that he's looked good. Last night was made akin to what we're used to. Somebody falling out of the ball every time the ball goes near him. I think he'll go back to Barcelona and be sold the second that they can get rid of him. But other than that, I do think that Greg Taylor, if he's been starting Ibrox, he's been starting Champions League, and he's been starting Patorges. Now he's finding that he's no automatic first pick at left back, and we have praised the guy for batting half competition before, like the ball and goalies and for beats Moyer and like the utter dumplings and utter shite we bought, but he's battered them all off, boys. He's put them all to one side. This is probably the first time he's had a bit of perceived quality that he's up against, where there's a genuine threat to his jersey. And I always think the better players, James Forrest, a prime example, when Paddy Roberts signed another season, you know, it's fair to say that every Celtic fan assumed that Roberts was going to take that jersey. James Forrest stood up and says, "Well, this is my jersey. This is why I'm trusted before you came to play the big matches." And the better players, they shine in these situations. I did genuinely feel that there's maybe a wee bit of revisionism written about Greg Taylor. I know Liam on the pod not a big fan of him. I think sometimes he's a bit tongue in cheek. He's a bit like myself. If he likes to slag a player, he'll go all in with both fit. He'll not go in softly. But I do think there's a bit of revisionism with Greg Taylor. I think a guy's been a major part of Celtic's success the last 4 or 5 years. He's been a really big part of it. But there's always been this niggling thing amongst the Celtic fans and probably management that he has to be improved on. Now, that might be more us on the back of having Kieran Tierney as a left back and the heights that he can reach as a Celtic left back, and and us having dreams that that's an everyday kind of type of player when it's probably a one in a generation type player. But he's maybe fell under that kind of category where he's never going to reach the heights. But I think all in all, I think you'll agree with me, boys. He's been a solid 7 out of 10 since we've had him. He's had the odd bad game, he's had the odd moment, but I think in reality, he's probably his time is up maybe last season, and he stayed a bit longer than he should have done as the first pick. He's got a bit of competition now, and he's not stood up to it, or at least he's not reacting the right way. But he did last night, by God. He came on, and I thought he showed up the left back, because our fullbacks, Johnson as well, by the way, Europe's best right back, they two were getting a hell of a time in the first half with Aberdeen. I mean, that big boy on the left, he had Johnson on toast. So he did, and that guy Duke, I mean, that Valley, he was one off the park at half time, boys. I don't care what Andy says. He probably asked for the sub. You know what I mean? Two of them were terrorised by the two. So I think, I don't know where I was going at that point, but last night was a tricky game. Greg Taylor came on. I thought he showed up a wee bit. Aberdeen probably sat 10 yards back in the second half than they did in the first half, because it's natural for a team like that to try and grind out a result rather than push the button and try to win the match. But it just shows you that he's still got a role to play, and he's still capable of coming out in the big matches and standing up. And if I was playing Rangers tomorrow at Ibrox, for me, he'd be starting from the boys, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, and I take your points, and I can see the argument for that. My argument would be, I generally think if it was Brendan being asked that question, I think it would be, if it was Ibrox tomorrow, it'd be Valle that he would.
Perhaps, boys,
I think it's a system thing. I think he does like the fact that, a lot of the attitude traits that Greg Taylor has. I think there has been, certainly he's not been as bad as made out. Of course he hasn't. But I think his role only improving because he's almost playing his own game within Rodgers' system. I think that's where he'll go. Valle plays exactly how I want my left back to play. Even if the performances are, it's more textbook for Rodgers. It's more part of his blueprint or his green print, if you like.
Just on that, boys, and I get your point. I mean, and if you look at the halfway line and your right, your left back sitting in the centre circle, obviously it's two different types of players. Obviously Greg Taylor's drifting in and he's doing all these things, but I think as a defender, Greg Taylor's well above that boy. You know what I mean? As a defender, you know what I mean? They did a bit of that boy falls every time the ball comes near him. He can't really defend for toffee, but as he going forward, the boy's more cultured. He can make a better pass. He's got good movement. I think him and Maeda's got a nice wee link up together. Mm-hmm. But Taylor, I think there's any question that Taylor's a better defender. I don't saw the boy win a tackle yet. I really haven't. I don't. Defensive wise, he's got no much that I don't think we've not got in the squad at youth level probably. But as a player, and he's a physical ability and all the rest of it, he's maybe that level above Greg Taylor. But it's probably a case of Celtic.
Let's go to Darryl's point, Mark. Sorry, mate. Just because it's an interesting one you make. Because I think Valle is the one that we've brought in, because we weren't going to have 3 left backs at the club. Taylor wasn't going anywhere last summer, so he was going to have Taylor and another. And for whatever reason, it's came down to, right, that's going to be the one that's the loan signing, right? That's going to be your loan signing. It's going to be, the lad for Barcelona who spent the year before, the season before, I think he played 30 games for, another Spanish team anyway, right? But I think Rodgers right now, it's just a straight shootout between the two of them, and therefore, by default, that means it's Valle. I'm not convinced if Taylor were to leave in January or the end of the season, that would mean it would be someone coming in to, say we kept Valle permanently, that would become someone coming in to supplement him. I still think Valle right now is the number, in my mind anyways, he's Brendan's preferred choice. I could be wrong. But I think that's just by default. He's the other option there right now. I don't think it'll be because Brendan Rodgers has been blown away by his performances so far either and thinks, oh, fuck, there's clear miles between those two. I just wonder if that was one of the signings where he's had to make the bit of a compromise going, right, the targets that we wanted aren't available now, or, I got a few other ones late in the day that we were more focused on. And that was sort of, I wanted to strengthen that bit, and that was the sort of, that was the padding in that position that we needed, if you like. And by the way, he could prove us all wrong. He could go not have a brilliant second half of the season, and develop. We don't know yet. But I would hazard a guess, like Darryl's coming and alluding to, that we do still need 2 to 3 left-sided players. And I think that would include, if Taylor was to go at the end of the season, and even if you were to keep Valle, it would mean another left back coming in, and probably one with more of a pedigree, and Valle then to challenge that new recruit for the slot. Obviously, the debate that will run rife as well will be would KT be a good fit for that? And I wouldn't, to be honest, be surprised if he did something like join on loan in January. I think something like that wouldn't surprise me. It would be box office in terms of the profile of signing, the romance of it all. It would be a loan, so there'd be no transfer fee involved. So Celtic will get all the props at that time and all the excitement by bringing in a loan player that they'll be, they'll have haggled a deal where they're paying a fucking fraction of his wage, if anything. And you wonder if that would work if it were to be someone with an injury record like Tierney, but with the pedigree and the quality he's got, where you could, and I've suggested this before, you could have then him and a Valle, and you've got one developing, one getting 20, 25 starts a season, and Tierney starting 30, 35 games a season, but it's, 20 of them are your fucking top level games, and then he might miss the weekend one domestically, that type of thing. And if that could be managed, but I mean, I think Darryl's absolutely spot on when he comes in here saying, regardless of the new deal, we need 2 to 3 left-sided players. He's suggesting selling Palmer and invest in that side of the park. I mean, Maeda's obviously been in the form of his life this year. He's played the best football he has in a Celtic shirt under Brendan this season. No two ways about that in my mind. He's really improved. His composure. That's what I like about him now. He seems to be having a second thought, but a good second thought, not like, sometimes it can actually look, I preferred it when it was more fluid. He's actually having a second thought now, and it's meaning a more defining sort of ball into the box, a more thought out one, and a more accurate one, for fucking, to be perfectly blunt.
More decisive, man.
Yeah, more decisive and more well thought out. I think the 2 examples at the weekend, Mark, where he's done the cutback, we didn't score, and then 2 seconds later in the same attack, he chopped back again, but he gets the head up, picks his man out for the second time, and I thought, he wasn't doing those things the last few seasons at Celtic, to be honest. It was a lottery what went in the box. But he needs support on that left-hand side. He 100% does. And Forrest on the left, I don't like. I think Forrest, for me, should be the backup choice for Nicholas Kuhn. Now, yes, there's a fall-off, but I also think his experience and his ball retention wide and his calmness in the ball is fantastic. If it's then down to Yang, I ain't having it. And I'm not buying what that sells. And it means, therefore, sometimes it's Forrest coming on earlier and he goes to the left, then Yang comes on, Forrest goes over to the right, whatever. To me, it should be Nicholas Kuhn, Dice Maida, your first 2 picks. James Forrest is second on the right, and it's got to be another pushing Maida for that left-hand side winger slot that's not a player present, because Palmer, the race has run, albeit I've had more faith in him than many, purely in his goal return. I mean, I think they asked a great question on Tuesday. I don't know if you've seen any of David and Phil's show. They said, deep down, it's the League Cup final, and you're a goal down, and Maida gets injured. Who are you bringing on, Palmer or Yang? Which one? They all said Palmer, and I do agree with that. I think you would go, no, you'll need it.
I'd bring on Solo before I bring on Nathan.
But you know what I mean, though.
I must admit,
you know what I mean?
You're totally right, of course. I mean, I think, like say, I think Palmer's had maybe a chance to prove that he's not good enough at Celtic than Yang has. I think Yang said like the odd game here and there and all the rest. It's hard to get into a gallop when you're getting games here and there. But the flip side of that is you get more games when you're playing well. When you're getting minutes, Celtic isn't a charity. I keep on saying you got to prove your worth. I mean, there's for every guy wanting a squad place, there's two fighting for it as well. You know what I mean, boys? Or at least there should be. So I totally get what you're saying there. I think you're right. I think Palmer's away. I think Palmer's away in January. So I hear to the MLS. But that's what you know is that Jackie Marcus and Abada, they two have totally different situations. But I think when you're at a club like Celtic, who's playing the Champions League, I think if your next steps the MLS, then you know you've went beyond your abilities by coming to Celtic. Do you know what I mean, boys? They tend to be a retirement home for football players. No guys that are playing Champions League football at the peak of their football and age group. You know what I mean? And I think Palmer
has changed a bit. I would say it has changed a bit.
Has a wee bit, but I think
high profile players is a retirement home, but there's I think the age sort of like in terms of other transfers, it probably came down.
I think the new progression for players now is maybe the English Championship, or maybe go to Belgium or something like that. I think it's changed now. Right? I think the landscape for football has changed now. I think you will see players, as you just mentioned, that end up at clubs in MLS and it'll be good for their careers. But 9 times out of 10, boys, it's normally the departure lounge for their careers. Do you know what I mean? Even like Jackie Marcus and Abada, they're probably too good to get into that level of football on their abilities, skill set, and their age groups. And Jackie Marcus
moved again. He went to Cruz Azul, I think it was.
I think he's doing well there, you know.
Was it where Casino used to manage? I've got a feeling it's where Casino used to manage. Do you know that?
God bless Pedro Casino. I miss that guy, but I didn't miss his big gulp. He used to always gulp when he talks. And
did he?
Man, I turned him off.
I never noticed these things. Good
observations,
mate. I like that.
Folk in general annoy me, boys. So anything else I can moan about, I'll fucking clutch on it. Don't you worry about that. By the way, just on Aberdeen fans last night again. Even at full time,
I was listening out for it, by the way.
Well,
on the back of what you said, I was.
Well, boys, I don't know if you noticed at full time, the Aberdeen fans had two options, right? They applaud their team off or sing Glasgow Celtic paedophiles. They chose the latter, and I think that sums them up. I think when I saw the Union flags at Hampden, when I saw the Israeli flags at Hampden, when I heard them singing about Jimmy Savile, and in a game last night, Jimmy Savile, fuck the IRA, pedos, all through the game, I thought, user went right into the Hearts camp for me. You know what I mean? I still find them largely irrelevant. I won't check the results, but I'll have a big smirk on my face when they get beat for Neon. Do you know that way? And I used to always say, so I've got a player and we're trying to test them at our level as such. Aberdeen can have them. Yeah, Aberdeen. Big crowd, big club, big pressure. They're an attacking team. They're probably the closest they're going to get to playing for a club at Celtic in Scotland is. See now, boys, I want to give them all kits to train with. I want to give them anything. I would totally, the way they have been, and you look at Twitter, they've created, the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks, maybe longer than that, they've created this false brain fart that Celtic were going to be challenging them for the title. That was never going to be happening. And then, so they created this kind of kid-on rivalry between the two years, but that turned very quickly into hatred for us. I know it's just spiraling out of control. You're seeing the comments I'm seeing now for their fans tonight. It's like Rangers v Celtic stuff. It's like should have been a red card for that diving bastard Kyogo. First of all, if there was any foul whatsoever, it's a penalty kick for Celtic. The Celtic keeper the Celtic player who had control of the ball, who hit the ball by the keeper, who brought him down. Just because that boy got a sore face doesn't mean that it's not a foul. It's a foul all day long. So if it's a penalty kick, forget the fact the boy ended up with a sore face. The guy dived into a Celtic player's leg who had control of the ball and took him out of the game.
I have to agree.
Penalty kick. I would even mention the fact Andrew Dallas was in one VAR. I mean, that is the end of story for you got to do really well to take some after that. That Hun bastard. And let's be honest, boys, this is, and Aberdeen fans have been rife with it on Twitter. I don't know if you've got, I've not got any Aberdeen fans that I talk to, but there's always ones popping up on your feed, and the disgusting comments that cheating bastards. That's how you get after the scumfy guys getting arrested, and I'm like, they're just turning into fucking hunts. And I've totally disliked to them, boys. I really can't stand them now. And do you know what? I don't know if you remember me saying this. I said to you when we were 9 points clear, Rangers have been tapping him by Christmas. And well, I think they've been tapping him come this time, 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time.
In fact, maybe the next two games' time, they'll be third or fourth.
Well, it's good to see two teams still in a race for whatever position it is they're aiming for in the league.
And by the way, boys, I wouldn't mind Hearts getting there before them. I wouldn't mind that. It's got to a stage now where I would love to see them fall off a cliff, because I've got real hatred for them now. Do you know that?
Yeah, well, bottom of the league, Hearts probably won't.
No, but I wouldn't bother me.
I know what you're saying.
Hypothetically, yeah. Well, Finger's doing pretty good. You know, Dundee United, they're not that far behind.
Yeah. Who's it? Jim Goodwin.
Aye, a good time and all.
Jim Goodwin. Yeah, definitely. Big handsome bastard too. But yeah, I mean, the dynamic I was trying to sort of talk to me, Terry's reaction was priceless last night when I was talking about, you know, how do you think the results tonight have changed the dynamic? Aberdeen's 100% home record's now gone, burst by the same team that burst their unbeaten record in all comps. And they've slipped up in 3 of the last 4 league games. They've dropped points, I think. I could be right.
4, the last 4 games, I think.
No, they've won one of them. They won one.
Oh, I
think it's 3 out of 4. 3 out of the last 4 they've dropped points in, or took no points from. I'm sure is the record.
Right.
And Rangers obviously get their biggest win of the campaign. I was saying, you know, I want your thoughts on it as well. Does it have any bearing on, you know, does it make the League Cup final any trickier for Celtic? Because the Rangers obviously will take confidence from that amazing 4-1 win in Nice, whether we want to call it that or not, it fucking was. And the 6-0 win, suddenly they've backed up, you know, and got a run of 3 wins on the trot, 2 of them away from home and 1 at home emphatic. Just as we're going into the League Cup, and they can now see Aberdeen, and you know, they're breathing down Aberdeen's neck. They are coming into confidence at the right time for the League Cup final. But notwithstanding it, well, do you think it has any bearing on it first and foremost?
Oh, definitely. I mean, your competence is 90% of your display, boys. They've all got ability. I mean, the levels of ability is touch and go, and the top level football. You know what I mean? It's the competence and your speed of thought and all the rest of it that all comes together. And you said 4-1 away from home in Europe. We'd be selling DVDs if that was Celtic. Let's not make mistakes like that. We'd have a 4-1 at Celtic Park where you could buy bricks in the 4-1 lounge. We'd do all that, you know what I mean? To go to the Seville lounge a game of Loston. But, according to Rangers fans anyway. But apart from that, boys, it will play a factor because now they're seeing the gap on Aberdeen closing. They're beginning to get goals. They've improved their league position in the last 2-3 weeks. That does. If confidence was rock bottom 2 weeks ago, it'll be a lot higher than when it was then. You know what I mean, boys?
Does that make it a delicious prospect then? Because, of course, what comes of that then is a great ability for us just to fucking suck the life right out of that all over again. You know, which is amazing. I mean, I was speaking at work today to my Rangers season ticket holder colleague, and he's all shit hot again yesterday. I said, look, I'll be totally... He said we were shit hot last night, boys. Honestly, we were. And I was like, well, I don't doubt it. I went, but be honest. you always become shit hot once the pressure's off and you've given up the ghost of what is a league title, meant to be title race. Once you give up the race, this time you've got a new manager in. But this is where you always start to, turn your form around, because there's no pressure on you, because everyone knows the league's fucking gone, including your own players, your own staff. The shackles are off and suddenly you start playing with freedom. And he went, "You're fucking 100% right." I swear that's what he said to me, but I've never even thought of that. He goes, "That's exactly it." He goes, "We're playing like this now because there's a freedom." He was like, "There's a freedom to us because you fucking bastards have won the league." And I went, "Did you get it?" I went, and that's how when you, it looks like whenever you employ a new manager, the next messiah, because they're actually coming in because the league's done, or looks like it's going to be done. So when the new manager comes in, he looks like he's getting this amazing bounce and looks like he's a fantastic manager. But really, the whole squad's just playing with a complete new freedom because they've went, "Well, that's us out the title race." Expectation levels have dropped to an all-time low. That pressure cooker's fucking switched off. Suddenly they play with a bit of freedom. Come the League Cup final, they don't get that luxury. They don't get that let off. They have to play under the high octane pressure. They have to play against the best in the country, and they have to take what comes with that if they are to lose, which I think they will, and I think we will win it. And that then can, of course, lead to probably them going in. Usually they go in a seasonal cycle. This might be a monthly one with Clermont. So provided if they lose the League Cup final, they then have another month they want them out and some dodgy results. Then they'll be that further behind again in the league. They'll pick up again because fucking right, there's no fucking, everyone's expectation levels have dropped so low again. They've got that newfound freedom, and that'll get up to then the Scottish Cup, where they'll have a big pressure game and they'll get beaten at whatever stage it's at, and so on and so forth. But I just was curious to see if you thought it would make any impact going into it. I certainly think it makes them, for their point of view, have more of a chance. But I honestly believe the Leopards don't change their spots when it comes to these occasions, like competing with us week after week, week on week, home and away, and then competing against us when it was a fucking makeshift defence last season and they were at home, and we'd start the season pretty flatly, already out the League Cup, and we still beat them. And I just think when it comes to this, these are the bits. Can you hang? They can't hang with us. And that's why right now is their favourite bits of any season, where fuck everyone's getting turned away from it. If they drop points, it's not even a crisis. Everyone's just like, fucking, of course they fucking did. If they get a shitey 1-0 win at St Johnstone, nobody says it was even that bad. They just shrugged their shoulders at how sort of depressing it all is. They're past the anger phase, and suddenly the team picks up results. Then it comes to the real stuff. Back again, put right back in the fire. And they'll be on toast. They will be toast, I should say, when it comes to playing us, because I think Brendan is the man for those sort of occasions, and I think they are literally the polar opposite to what is required in such games.
Well, be careful what you wish for. I mean, the pressure will be back on. You can't have all the applause and all the standing ovations for beating Kilmarnock 6-0 and then not take the pressure that comes with it, because they're going to expect that to be the norm again. They were getting apathetic, and they were getting used to the fact they were playing bad football and churning out 1-0 results and own goals, bailing them out. And when they did pick up some results and they get a bit of form, it becomes an expectation that they're going to see it more often. And you're right. I mean, sometimes I always say that when are like England going into a World Cup, they'll get these false hopes up that they're the best in the world. They'll write their own press, they'll write their own media, and they'll get themselves up to a high level. But the reality kicks in when the football starts, boys. When the real football starts, when it's nitty gritty and it's
there's something on the line. When there's something on the line. See, at the end of the day, last night, it's a free hit at home. Derek McInnes's Kilmarnock, as many in the chat are alluding to. It's a gimme. Of course they're going to look good.
Well, it's amazing. That'll be one of the games, probably. I've seen the stats on the games on the show there on my Twitter, and the stats were crazy. It was like 38 shots at goal. Basically, I've not had that combined all season. In fact, up until last night, Rangers had scored 18 goals. So they scored a quarter of their goals a third of their goals for the full
So it took a
season they scored last year.
33% jump in their goals for column.
So that is like,
That's because it's so far behind, mate. That is all to
as
do with that point I'm making. It is. It genuinely is.
But there's been many a times. I mean, you look at us. I've seen us dropping points, then them having a chance to go tap or go close or whatever. And then they'll go the next day and get fucking pumped at home, or they'll draw at home, or they'll get beat away. That's a team that doesn't handle pressure very well. In fact, I remember Tavernier wrote on his match program notes that the players don't take well to the Ibrox crowd. And no, listen, I did hear Art McLeish years ago was talking about that home section, that the support behind the dugout at Ibrox, so that when he's only winning, it's a really hard place to stand. It's probably quite vulgar, boys saying. I mean, it's quite visceral at the best of times, but when you're not performing in a Rangers jersey, it must be really tough for the players. And some players just can't handle it, and they've had a long succession of players that can't handle it. And I think now, when it looks like the league might be getting towards the also-ran stage, that they're picking up some victories. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't account for them going away in Europe winning 4-1 as well. So maybe there is confidence being built up because of that victory. And I
also think
Haji's starting again. Haji's maybe a player who's maybe giving him a bit more dynamic. He can cross a ball for one. I don't think they'll get many players that can do that.
I think they just need someone who can kick one, mate. To be honest,
so probably many factors. I mean, but listen. If the game kicked off 2 weeks ago, Celtic are 1-5 to win that. You know what I mean? If it's kicking off tomorrow, it's maybe 1-2. So it's just a case of confidence does breed an expectation, and
that makes all the more sweet if we do the biz.
It does, and same as the game at Hampden. Boys say there was a sweetness walking away for that Hampden, and we just pumped Aberdeen 6-0, and we beat Aberdeen 6-7 now every season. It's nothing new to beat that more, but they went there and they were convinced they're going to the final. They were gone. That was it. We were just a team that was lucky to get a goal chopped off at Parkhead. They should have won 3-2. You name it. They've had it all coming for that side. And it becomes a bit more juicy when you beat them it's the hope that kills them. It's the hope that kills them. That's what I think. And there's almost an acceptance. See, when you're the team that's no expecting to win it, and there's an acceptance and there's a reality that kicks in. But seeing you expected to win, or you get really grit between your teeth and you're going for it, and you get turned over. That's when the bitterness kicks in, boys. See what I mean? And you probably see that again at Hampden. I'm of the opinion, well, the fun was 3-0 at the start of the season, we beat them. I'm of the opinion that game aside, I think they've all been nip and tuck between us and Rangers since Rodgers took over. And I think it will be again, but that's just me. I just think Celtic have just got that killer instinct that Rangers haven't got. So I'm not expecting a 4-5-0, far from it, but I do still think Celtic are in a much better place than Rangers. 6-0 against Kilmarnock or no.
Yeah, well, let's just stick on a similar theme, because there was a story that you shared in the group chat late afternoon today. It seems to be doing the rounds on Twitter. I can see a lot of tweets sharing it. I think they've had some sort of fuck knows what type of meeting. I don't know.
Was it an AGM they had today?
Was it their AGM? Was it?
Yeah.
Did they have the facility for it? Was it on the pitch? Was it in a hut?
A gazebo, remember that? Oh my god.
Unbelievable. Eh? But anyway, I think they were asked to confirm it wasn't a typo in the accounts, because people actually had fallen for accounts getting printed for, whether we like it or not, as high a profile thing, right, as Rangers are.
You're a stock exchange,
for
fuck's sake.
You don't get typos in the figures in an account. There could be a spelling error somewhere. But in terms of the figures area, these typos ain't existing, mate, and getting published.
No.
But I think if unless it's all just getting glossed up and dressed up a bit by Celtic fans having banter, it sounds like one of their questions was to confirm it wasn't a typo, that they only brought in £0.81 £810,000 for all player sales in the summer. Firstly, fascinating that gets to the point going, you talk about the hope bit, Mark.
Mm-hmm. But I tell you the players, boys, just so you
Yeah,
remember
go
them.
for it. Of course, yeah, of course.
Like, a guy who scored goals in Holland like fuck last season on loan. Lammers, Golson, a UEFA Cup finalist. Cantwell, the best player on TikTok. Wright, I don't know who he is. And McCrory. They got a combined total of 810 grand, as you says. I suspect that was Rangers trying to rid them to get rid of the wages more than anything, but
Of
holy
course, yeah,
fuck,
but still,
that's
mate,
bad. That is bad.
that's like that's ridiculous, and it's that delusion, and you're talking about the hope thing, where they're clinging to the past, and it, it was a typo, wasn't it? It
It was
was to be a
8.1.
typo.
It was 81 million we got.
Yeah, like it's like get real. You just don't know what you're doing with all this stuff. They had a wee run at it where they did the amazing flip on
Bassey.
Calvin Bassey, and
And
of
that
course
really,
the youth product Patterson that I think they sold. And see, to be honest, I couldn't really be fucked with all the like Celtic fans like intrinsically looking into it, going,
no.
"Oh, right, Patterson was only 4 million, really," and then they're saying it's 12. The deal's worth 12 million. It's worth 12 million. Just get on with it. It's amazing they've never used that as a springboard though, doing those sort of deals. And you thought, fucking hell, this is leveling up here. If they, are in a UEFA Cup final, Europa League final, and they're now flipping players, they're bringing in for 500 grand to 17 million or 18 million, whatever Bassi was sold for. That Celtic stuff, when you're going, fuck, that worried me at that point. It's amazing how it's just all crumbled all over again, and they don't learn from their previous mistakes or learn from the wee rare bits they get good and use them as their examples. But I'm astounded in 2024. I talk about what my thoughts are on modern day transfer fees. And, I think 8 millions are dropping the ocean for a club like Celtic, to be perfectly honest with you, in 2024. I think that should be the going rate for, players that you'd expect to be fighting for a first team place, not, even guaranteed starters. And for a tenth of that, they've sold 5 players that we would associate with the first team, some of them for years. That's unbelievable, that gulf. And what it really makes you think is, and your point is right, it's to get it off the wage bill. See if they're in that, let's be real, that nick where it's actually focusing on just getting them off the wage bill. Fuck the fee. I'll tell you what that is. That's called desperation, right? That's not even having so much as half a hand. That's having no hand to play at a negotiation table, because no one comes to Celtic and expects things are free presents. So, for example, Bosun Lawal doesn't start a competitive game for Celtic. Stoke City paid us £3 million for him.
I know.
Right? So what that means is Celtic go, well, no cheek, no chance. He's a Celtic player. We've got loads of money. Like, that's what we want. We know you've got the money. We know what you've paid down there. You think he's good enough for your first team? You've told him, because you've told his fucking agent, because his agents at us want a wage rise having not played for us. So there's £3 million we want for him. Go pay it. Rangers have Todd Cantwell, who was a key player initially, someone who came with decent pedigree down south. So if he's going back to down south, his reputation's still okay, particularly at championship level. And they spend fortunes in the championship, remember. And he's part of this 810,000 combined fee for 5 players. That makes you think, like, they've not even went there with the audacity. Come on, guys. He's got 3 years left in his deal. I know he wants it, but he's $1 million. Here's 2 million. They've actually went, all right, just have him. Take him. It gets him off the wage bill.
It's like they're
mad.
saying to them, do you know what? We'll pay off the lease if you let him come down. I mean, we'll pay off the leases, because what the fuck? I mean, even a sort of 100 odd grand per player. Come on, boys. He would even let go of Kitman for that kind of money. And I think that's a headline. That's a headline grabber, that message. But see, you look beneath that, and you look at what's going on. There's got to be a lot of concerns about. I mean, I would expect, and I should expect, that if I asked somebody at Celtic, what's the contingency plan on this player if he doesn't make the first team? Where's he going? Is he going on loan? Is he going to be sold? What's the situation with this particular player? I'd expect Celtic to have an answer for every single player in that squad.
And a guesstimate of his market value.
Yep.
A rough
that
idea
just tells you that,
where they sit.
Nothing. They've got nothing. You know what I mean?
It also tells you it's not just nothing, mate. It's there's a necessity to offload. They had to get these guys off.
Well,
It
it's
wasn't
changed
a
days,
case
boys.
of. It wasn't a case of it's a high wage for a guy that doesn't feature the manager's plans, so we've shook hands and let him go. It's have him. You take him as well. Or do you want
You
this with
can cook.
Goldson? 32. 32-year-old Goldson with the amount of Premier League games he played for Brighton, the European games he was involved in with Rangers, which is a decent highlight reel, I would have said. The fact he was a mainstay for them for 5-6 years, he definitely, mate, can command £1 million. Fuck, I don't know. Unless his contract was running out, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't one that cost, but the
Even at that,
Cantwell
boys,
one,
even
it's
at that, he
crazy.
can't
What's
too
over.
many goals and all. I mean, don't get
I've
me
never
wrong,
heard
didn't
of someone to be given like that group that you just named there to be given away, mate. Given away just to cut wages. Surely someone's now going, how bad are things behind? And that's the thing. The actual question at AGM is that was a mistake, wasn't it? It couldn't have been under $1 million.
Well,
See, the
right,
follow-up
what's that?
question should be, okay, why did we have to do that? How bad are things?
Well, do you hear the worst it, boys? That's what it gets even worse. You probably not seen this yet because you mentioned it. So the stand-in chairman, whatever it is, the coach just now, came out and told the AGM that Rangers from now on will begin going down at Scottish-based directors and ownership, West of Scotland-based.
West of Scotland.
No, that's the behind the
Football
scenes.
operation.
The directors of the will now be solely focused on West of Scotland people. Now, take away the bigotry rest it, boys. That's you hamstringing. They've not said they want the best person for the job. They've even mentioned
The
that.
card they're playing.
They're playing the gallery. They're playing the
Scotch
gallery.
card. Yep.
Aye, that's it. But for me, boys, I'd be concerned about that. I'd be thinking, oh no, Peter Grant's got to be in charge of the fucking training now. I'd be thinking about, if that was Celtic saying stuff like that, you know what I mean? That was even worse than that comment about that about the figures. I think that's been an alarming thing for Rangers fans because see the days going by. This is what they don't get and own the park. See the days going by, just being a Ranger, being somebody that can break a leg. The days of being enough are so far gone. It's untrue. I mean, you need temperament, you need ability, you need so many things, and your aggression is probably the last thing you need in modern football. Let's be honest here. But they hark back to these days, boys, and they hark back to the white gloves and the teetotal around the waist days where the Masons ran the Rangers and Masons ran the SFA. They think that's all going to come back just by hiring West of Scotland people. Go to the Orange Lodge in Ayrshire and bring it to the top end.
It's complete downsizing because that's another clue as to, we need you to get on side with something. What's the one thing you love to get on side with? That tradition and all that shit, right? So you'll do that and that deflects from... What was that last question someone asked? 0.81 million? Oh, I've forgotten all about that now. I've just heard about West of Scotland stuff, and I don't know. I thought they just, to be fair, just for balance, I thought they just appointed like a Dutch guy as...
So, Gilligan, every decision made by the board is in the best interest of the club. You can question use of cash and results. I have to admit sometimes it's not been good enough. But we are now going to create a board that is Scottish-based and will have very much more advice and help from people in the west of Scotland. I don't forget about the bigotry stuff. Let them have that, and good on them. It's a selling point for them, and they cherish it. But how crazy is that? How crazy is that? See, for any company to hamstring themselves that badly when they're in a position of losing money as it is, I just don't understand it. What he should have said was, we're going out there using all our contracts to find the very, very best men for this club. But see, you're saying,
but they can't do that. So this is the other way. This is the way of dressing up. Going,
you can at least lie, boys.
But that's what they think they're doing, though. They think they're appealing to the masses when really they're saying, we're downsizing big time here. It's my old pals that are getting the gig and doing it for free.
I guarantee you that there's Rangers podcasts, probably not many of them, that will be looking at these statements today going like that. Is this mob for real? Are they not seeing the big picture here? I'm not convinced many Rangers fans will think that way because they're quite staunch themselves, you know what I mean? But I mean, I bet you look at the board at Celtic Park, they'll probably laugh when they read that this morning after that AGM. They're probably like, are they for real? Are they for real? It is like, I mean, forget even the 810 grand for the players. I think that's yesterday's fish and chip paper. That's very alarming, boys. That's something you laugh at. The 810 grand you laugh at for a point of view, and it's just indicative of a board that's
that should be instantly for them then going, right, we need now a bit of transparency as to what the fuck's going on, because
that's a red flag, boys.
Oh, a huge red flag, mate. A huge. But anyway, in terms of all of that, it just, the gulf with the two clubs, because how bigger they get 800k for 5 first team players. We get 8 points for 5 matches in the Champions League. So I dare say that's a hell of a lot more prize money as well, just on points that Celtic have made, than they could get for what was once upon a time prized assets. We will leave it there. Judge, brilliant to have you on this Thursday. Thanks to everyone in the chat. We over 100 for almost all of the show, so a big thank you to you all. Remember, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit subscribe if you've not, hit the bell if you're already subscribed, and make sure you don't miss a bus in the future. But big shout out to you all. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. We'll be back Friday Feeling tomorrow, I think, should be on. Phil's usually pretty efficient with that. And then, of course, PMP on Saturday. Judge, cheers again, pal.